Alright, so let's go through your homework. I did post answers step by step, but I'll give you some commentary for these, and hopefully that helps you if you got a little confused. Alright, taking a look. Let's see here. So number 20. Number 20, it says 5 plus 7z over 8 minus 15 plus 3z over 10 is less than 2. Alright, so step 1, we're going to solve it like an equation. And the LCD between 8 and 10 would be 40. So we're going to solve this like an equation. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to multiply everything by 40. And this would come out to be 5 times 5 plus 7z minus 4 times 15 plus 3z equals 80. So I think my answer sheet's wrong. I forgot to multiply the 2 by 40, but that's what we need to do. So just make sure you're careful. Ignore my answer sheet for this one. I'll fix it going forward. Or actually, I'll fix it and I'll post the revised one. But so that's what that would be. This would be 25 plus 35z minus 60 minus 12z is 80. Combine like terms. And I'm getting z is equal to 5. Okay. So if z is equal to 5, second step is we make our denominators with a variable equal to 0. And there are none. So we'll go to step 3. The only number we have is 5, so we'll test numbers. Let's see here. Test numbers less than 5, and we'll test numbers greater than 5. And in my calculator, the way I would store this would be 5 plus 7a in parentheses divided by 8. Remember, anytime there's multiple things in a numerator or denominator, we use parentheses. And I'm going to bring the 2 on the other side. In our calculator, we always want to make sure that it's 0 on the other side. And if we pick a number less than 5, like let's say 0, and let's say z would be 6. 0 would work, 6 would not. So for our fourth step, we want to test the boundaries. And so z is less than 5, but what about 5? Could z equal 5? And the answer is no, because you would get 0 is less than 0, which is not true. So the answer for this is just z is less than 5. Alright, so let's see here. That's how you do number 20. Skip around a little bit here. I'm going to do number 31. I asked you to do 4. So 31, it says 1 over a minus 1 over b is equal to c. And it says to solve this for a. So let's get rid of fractions first. The LCD would be ab. I'm going to multiply everything by that, just like we usually do. And I want to solve for a. So I'm going to get all the a's on one side. And the way we can extract the a from both of those terms is factor. And if we divide both sides by 1 plus BC, we do get the A by itself. A would equal B over 1 plus BC. That's where that comes from. All right, a couple more examples here. For number 21, we have y plus 5 is less than or equal to 6 over y. So for my first step, I want to solve it like an equation. And the way we could solve this equation is get an at least common denominator, which would be y. If we multiply everything by y, y squared plus 5y is equal to 6. So y squared plus 5y minus 6 would be 0. We could factor at this point. Let's use plus 6 and minus 1. And we'd get y is negative 6 and y is 1. Second step is we want to make our denominators with y equal to 0, any variable equal to 0. So that means like this one right here. So y would equal 0. And when we go to make our number line for step 3, on my calculator, instead of typing in y plus 5 is less than or equal to 6 over y, I'm going to make it so it's less than 0, so it's just easier for me to type in. And I can make this a plus 5 minus 6 over a. And I'm going to test numbers less than negative 6, between negative 6 and 0, between 0 and 1, and bigger than 1. So like we could use negative 7, we could use negative 1, we could use 1/2 for this, and we could use 2. Now if you were to type this into the calculator, you could just store these, and this area would work. This would not, this would not. So then for step 4, we're going to see what about the boundaries. For y is less than negative 6, could y be negative 6? Or between 0 and 1, could y be 0 and could y be 1? And let's see what we get. If we were to plug in negative 6, we would get 0 is less than or equal to 0. That's true, so I'm going to make that an or equal to sign. Could y be 0? No, that's not going to work because it makes our denominator 0. But 1 would work. You would get 0 is less than or equal to 0. So I'm going to make this an or equal to. So this would be the best answer for this problem. And then one more to go. Number 24. Alright, so let's see here. For number 24, it says 1 over 2y plus 1 plus 1 over y plus 1 is greater than or equal to 8 over 15. Okay, so our LCD would be 15 times y plus 1 times 2y plus 1. I'm going to multiply that out. Let's see what we get. And this is going to be our first step, which is we solve it like an equation. Alright, so I have a little bit of work to do here. And if we make it equal to 0, let's see here, 24 minus 45 is negative 21, and 8 minus 30 is negative 12. Alright, so at this point we could try to factor it. Might take a little while here. 16 times 12 is 192. I mean, we could factor, we could use quadratic formula, we can complete the square. Factoring is going to take a little while. I mean, we could complete the square, we could use quadratic formula. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to try to factor this. Alright, so we have to get 192, negative 192. And so 1's not going to work, 2's not going to work, 3 and 64 is not going to work. We have to try to get negative 21. 192 divided by 6 and 32. No, that would be, no, they wouldn't add up to be 21. So 192 and 8. 8 and 24, no. Let's see, what else goes into it? So 192 and 9. 9 and 21, no. 10, no, of course that wouldn't work. 11's not going to work. 12 and 16, no. Having a little trouble here coming up with ones that work. Let me see here. No. Yeah, I'm having a little bit of trouble finding numbers that factor. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm just going to use quadratic formula. So x would equal 21 plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. And 21 plus or minus, let's see what this is. 21 squared minus 4 times 16 times negative 12. It's 1209 over 32. Let me just make sure I did this right here. 16y squared, 45 and 30, so that's 16y squared. 24 minus 45 is negative 21. 8 minus 30 is negative 22. Ay, ay, ay. That's what the problem was. Made a mistake over here. That's what happens when I'm rushing through things. So, I'll fix this up here. Just like in class, sometimes I make mistakes, but eventually we figure it out. So factoring, 16 times 22 would be negative 352, and they have to add up to be negative 21. So I'll try this again. 352 divided by, so let's see, 4 and 88 aren't going to work. 7 doesn't work. 8 and 44. Close, but that's not going to work. Let's try something else here. I could just use quadratic formula, but let's see. We'll figure it out. 16 and 22. Ay, ay, ay. It's taking me a while here. 16 and 22 I think might be in the wrong direction. Uh, 11 and 32. That's it. Alright, found it. If that wasn't going to work, I'd try quadratic formula, but 11 and 32 do work. So it's a big number here, but what are you going to do? Okay, so it's 16y squared plus 11y minus 32y minus 22 is equal to 0. We could take out just a y from the first group. Take out a 2, a negative 2. And when it's all said and done, we get y minus 2 times 16y plus 11 equals 0. So as an equation, we get y is 2, and y would be negative 11 over 16, which is about the about symbol that we use. We say y is about, just one squiggly line. Two squiggly lines means, well, it doesn't really matter. Y is about 0.6875. Okay. Hey, all right, it took a while here. Second step is we make our denominators equal to 0 that have a variable. So taking a look at the problem, we have a 2y plus 1 equals 0, and we have a y plus 1 equals 0. So we get y is equal to negative 1/2, and we get y would equal negative 1. We're going to have a pretty big number line here. So for our number line, we're going to have, let's see, negative 1, negative 11 over 16, which is about 0.6875. We're going to have negative 1/2, and we're going to have 2. So you could pick numbers in each region. And when you go to store them on your calculator, the equation I would use to store would be 1, let's see, so 1 over 2y plus 1 plus 1 over y plus 1 is greater than or equal to 8 over 15. But on a calculator, I would make it equal to 0. So I would type in 1 over parentheses 2a plus 1 plus 1 divided by parentheses a plus 1 minus 8 over 15, and see which of those numbers, when you plug them in, comes out to be greater than or equal to 0. This area won't work. This area will. This area won't work. This area will. This area will not work. So for our last step, for step 4, we're going to be testing the boundaries. with negative 1 is less than, we're using y here, negative 11 over 16. And we're going to be combining that union, or we could say the or if you want. Negative 1/2 is less than y is less than 2. So let's see if y could be negative 1. Let's see if y could be negative 11 over 16. Could y equal negative 1/2, and could y equal 2? And if you plug it in, if you store negative 1 on your calculator, you'll get a divide by 0 error. So this is, no, that can't work. We'll leave that sign the way that it is. Negative 11 over 16 would give us an answer, 8 over 15, which is greater than or equal to 8 over 15. So that's true. So I'm going to make this an or equal to sign. Negative 1/2 would make our denominator equal to 0, so that's no. That sign's going to stay the way it is. And if you were to plug in 2, 2 would give you an answer, 8 over 15 is greater than or equal to 8 over 15, so that's true. So I'm going to make that an or equal to sign also. Alright, if you made it through the whole video, thank you. And let's move on to something new with today's lesson.